Hi everyone. We are going to do a problem that involves cutting circles into different sizes of wedges. You had a problem in your homework for 3.1 and I believe in 3.2 where you had to take a circle diagram like this one and you had to really know what size of a wedge was in order to find the proportion, the probability. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this first circle. Now on your page it might look a little different. You have 3 circles whereas I have 4. So I'm going to take the very first circle and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. You will need a straight edge so that you can make straight lines. I'm going to cut this one in half best I can. It's kind of off-centered. Okay, that's all right. And when I cut this in half I have 2 equal parts. So this means that this wedge right here is 1 out of those 2 equal parts. All right. I could go ahead and split this in half. I'm only going to split one side though so that we can still see that half wedge. Oh, let me erase that line because I want us to still see the half wedge. Imagine that that line goes across though. If that line is there, I have 4 equal parts. Okay, and that means that one of these parts is 1 out of 4 equal wedges. So it's 1/4. Believe it or not, I can take my ruler and I can split these fourths into halves. Cut them in half. Okay, so imagine that my line's there and I have 4 equal parts. I can take those 4 equal parts and I can split them in half. When I do that, I'm left with how many equal pieces? Well, this would split into 2, so that'd be 1, 2. This would split into 2, 3, 4. This would split into 2, 5, 6. This would split into 2, 7, 8. So you would have 8 equal pieces. So I'm only going to split one of them in half so that you can continue to see the sizes of the wedges. Okay. And it's a little off, but we'll go with it for right now. So when I split that in half, one of these wedges is 1 equal wedge out of 8. All right, because remember I could split each fourth into 2. All right, and that means that this one would be 1 out of 8. So we're not going to split them anymore, but I want to take a look at your fractions here that you do have on your wedges. So the first wedge we created was 1/2. I'm going to write that down. The probability for 1/2 as a decimal is 0.5. And then in order to change that into percentage, I would multiply it by 100, and I would get 50%. So what that's saying is that this half is 50% of the entire circle, which is 100%. My next type of wedge I have is 1/4. And when I change that to a decimal, I get 0.25. And when I multiply that by 100, I would get 25%. Again, this wedge is, the probability is 25% of the entire circle, which is 100%. And then I have 1/8. 1/8 as a decimal is 0.125. And that rounds, when you multiply by 100, you get 12.5%. I'm going to go ahead and keep that decimal there, though. Not going to round it. So that's what we have when we cut it into halves, fourths, and eighths. All right. I'm going to go ahead and make another type of circle. And this time I'm going to start with thirds. Now, it's a little hard to make thirds. You're just going to have to kind of eyeball it. I like to see where the center of my circle is, and once I find the center of my circle, I kind of go from there. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line out. So I make 3 equal or somewhat equal pieces. Those are a little off, but we're going to take it. So I have 3 equal pieces, which means that one of these wedges is 1 equal piece out of the 3. Okay? I'm not going to do anything to this wedge because I want you to continue to see how large a third is of a circle. I'm going to take this wedge. I'm going to go ahead and split it in half. Okay. I'm going to take this wedge and I'm going to go ahead and split it in half. And it'd keep going. I could split this wedge in half. If I did that, how many equal pieces would I have now? Well, if I split this in half, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I have 6 equal wedges. All right? So that means that this wedge right here, just this one wedge, is one of the wedges out of the 6. It's one wedge out of the 6 that we have in our circle, if I were to draw this line there. This one is also 1 out of 6. Okay? What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and split this one in half right here. Let's go ahead and split that one in half. Then I'm also going to split this one in half. So basically what I'm doing is I'm splitting the 6th into half. And that one is a bad one. So I'm going to erase that and redo that one. There we go. Still a little off. All right. So these are now split into 2. So we took our, what we cut into 6. We're going to go ahead and we're going to see how many we have. So if I cut this 6th into half, this 6th into half, this one, and then you have to imagine that there's 2 more right here that we cut in half. Okay, so I'll draw a little line so you can kind of see it. There's our 2 sixths. If I cut those in half, so I'd have 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2, 2. So I'd have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So now I have 12 equal wedges. So that means that this one wedge out of the 12, it would be 1/12. Same for this one. This would be 1/12. And we could label these as 1/12. Okay? So if I take a look at this circle, I have many different types of wedges that I've split up. But let's go ahead and find their probabilities. So if I have 1/3 of a wedge, that number as a decimal is 0.33 repeating. And if I turn that into a percentage, I would have 33.3%. I could also write this as 33 1/3 because 0.3 is 1/3 as a fraction percent. I have 1/6. Okay, 1/6 is 0.16666 repeated. And so I could write that as 16.7% if I rounded it, or 0.6666666 repeated would be 2/3 as a fraction. So I could also write this as 16 2/3%. That part right there would be the 2/3. Then I have 1/12. And 1/12 as a decimal is 0.083. Please remember, to find the decimal, we take the numerator divided by the denominator. This as a decimal, as a percentage, if I multiply by 100, would be 8.3%. So these are going to come in handy when I have to go answer problems, because now I know about how large each of the types of wedges are. There is a video that's below this one that has the example at the bottom of your page. Please go to that one so that you can, I would go ahead and try to answer the question first and then check your work with that video.